Hey everyone, and thanks for joining me for our next reading of Crazy Day with Cobras. We last left off on chapter 4, and Jack and Annie had met the ambassador, given their gift, got the emerald rose, and were on their way back to the treehouse when they were stopped and taken to a parade for the Great Mogul. And Annie said, "Don't worry, what could go wrong at a parade?" Well, we know when somebody says that, usually something goes wrong. So let's see what may or may not go wrong. I'm going to read chapters 5 and 6 today, and chapter 5 is called Not Funny. The tall guard escorted Jack and Annie out the back door of the hall and into a walled courtyard. The other ambassadors were already entering the palace quarters on the far side. Jack was so frustrated he barely noticed the crimson and purple flowers, the bubbling fountains, and the dazzling water pools in the courtyard. All he wanted to do was get back to the treehouse. Their mission was done. He tried to think of an excuse to get away. "Annie," he whispered. By now, Annie was walking ahead and chatting with the guard. "Where do the royal women and children live?" she asked. The guard pointed to the palace quarters on the left side of the courtyard. Jack noticed veiled women peeping out from behind the arched windows. Annie waved at them, but the women moved out of sight. The guard escorted Jack and Annie out of the courtyard and through the quiet passageway. The passageway led to a chamber lit with brass lanterns hanging from the wall. The guard handed them each a silk coat, a sash, a pair of pointy shoes, and a jeweled turban. What's this?" asked Jack. "Gifts from the Great Mogul. You may change in here," the guard said. "Okay, thanks," said Jack. The guard pulled aside a curtain to reveal a small space like a dressing room. Jack and Annie stepped inside, and the guard pulled the curtain shut. Jack whirled around to Annie. "This is awful," he whispered. "We have to get out of here." "Calm down," said Annie. "We don't have a choice." She rubbed her hand over her purple silk coat. "I love these clothes." "Oh, brother," said Jack, sighing. But he took off his hot jacket and pulled on his orange coat and tied the sash. He definitely felt cooler in the soft silk coat, but the puffy pants made the coat balloon out around his waist. "I really hate this," he groaned. "Don't worry, we'll leave right after the parade," said Annie. She tucked her braids under her orange turban. "Do I still look like a boy?" "You look ridiculous," said Jack. "We both look ridiculous. We have to make some excuse so we can leave." "Don't you want to see the parade?" asked Annie. "Not with the person who kills you if you speak to him or bow the wrong way," said Jack. "Maybe we won't have to bow again," said Annie. "You're missing my point," said Jack. He put on his blue turban. Then he took off his buckled shoes and put on the pointy slippers. Annie looked at him and laughed. "Not funny," said Jack. "Well, don't forget, if we run into trouble, we can always drink the potion and make ourselves small," said Annie. "And get squashed by the Mogul's guards? No, thank you," said Jack. Annie laughed again. "Not funny," said Jack. The Imperial Guard pushed the curtain open to the dressing room. "Come with me now," he said. Jack and Annie followed the guard out of the chamber and down a hallway of the palace. "Remember, don't talk to the other ambassadors," whispered Jack, "and never ever say anything to the Great Mogul. Promise?" "Don't worry, I know what to do," whispered Annie. Jack and Annie followed the guard through another chamber and out to a wide, shaded balcony. The balcony overlooked a river and a sandy shore. The Great Mogul stood near the railing of the balcony, with Imperial guards surrounding him. The ambassadors stood in a row behind them. Jack was relieved to see that they, too, were wearing pointy shoes and silk coats that stuck out. Jack gestured to Annie to stand behind the ambassadors. He hoped none of them would try to talk to him. He was relieved to hear the trumpets suddenly blaring and drums booming. All the men stepped forward to watch the parade. Musicians came first. Hundreds of them marched in formation down the flat, sandy shore between the palace and the river. Some blew long golden trumpets. Others beat drums tied around their bodies. Dozens of flag bearers followed the musicians, their red and yellow banners waving in the hot, dry wind. After them came a row of tall, elegant horses with golden bridles. Some of them were dark gray, others were copper-colored, milk white, or midnight black. 100 Arabian horses," an Imperial Guard announced to the ambassadors, "the most beautiful animals in the world." Jack glanced at the Great Mogul. The ruler was coldly watching the parade. Next came carts pulled by white oxen. Riding on the carts were cheetahs with tan fur and black spots. They wore gold collars that glittered in the sunlight. 100 cheetahs, announced the guard, the fastest land animals in the world. Then came rows and rows of elephants kicking up a sea of dust. They looked like a fleet of gray ships. "100 elephants caught in the wild," said the guard. "The largest land animals in the world." The elephants wore gold chains and silver bells around their necks. The tops of their heads were covered with fancy fringed cloth. On their backs were straw carriages with riders inside. "Oh, wow, elephants," said Annie, her eyes shining. "Shh, we can't talk," whispered Jack. Elephants, oxen, and horses all stepped in time to the beat of the drums and the blare of the trumpets. Suddenly, the music was interrupted by wild shrieks and bellows. The Great Mogul, his guards, and the ambassadors all moved to get a better view. Jack and Annie stood on their tiptoes to see what was happening. Jack could see that an elephant had broken out of line and left the parade. Guards were struggling to capture it. The elephant had reared up on its hind legs, and its rider had tumbled down from the carriage on its back. The elephant was making a terrible noise, like a screaming trumpet. "What's happening? What's making that noise?" said Annie. "An elephant," whispered Jack. "Oh, no," said Annie. Jack grabbed her by the arm. "Don't say anything. Don't do anything," he whispered. "Think of Penny." I hate it when animals are hurt," said Annie. She pulled away from Jack and slipped through the row of ambassadors. Jack moved after her. "Annie, come back," he whispered. One of the guards saw Annie heading toward the railing where the Great Mogul stood. He quickly stepped in front of her. "Excuse me, sir, I'm worried about that elephant," Annie said in a low voice. "What's wrong with it?" "She tried to escape," the guard said. "They are capturing her now." "What's going to happen to her?" said Annie, trying to look around the guard. "She will be punished," said the guard. "What? Why?" said Annie. "She has failed to show respect for the Great Mogul," said the guard. "What?" Annie said. "Annie," Jack warned, but Annie didn't seem to hear him. "That's crazy. She's just an animal," she said to the guard. Her voice was fierce. "Annie, quiet, please," said Jack. The Imperial Guards and the other ambassadors were looking at Annie with alarm. Worst of all, the Great Mogul was staring at her, too. So, something did go wrong at the parade. An elephant was trying to escape, and they're capturing her, but they're going to punish her, and Annie is really, really worried about it. So, let's go ahead and jump into Chapter 6, called Morning Breeze. "Your Majesty, sir," Annie called to the Great Mogul. "She's just an animal. Please don't let anyone hurt her." "Shh! You can't talk to him," Jack whispered furiously. "Please help her," Annie said to the Great Mogul. "She doesn't know how great you are. She doesn't know she should respect you." The Great Mogul kept staring at Annie, but said nothing. "Don't you love animals?" Annie asked. The Great Mogul didn't answer. "Don't you love anything?" asked Annie. The ambassadors gasped. Two of the guards grabbed Annie by her arms. "No, please, he can't help it," Jack explained to the guards. "That's just the way my brother is. He can't stop himself from talking. Please tell your ruler that." The Great Mogul murmured something to a bodyguard, then he turned and left the balcony. The guard looked startled. He said something in a low voice to the men holding Annie. Jack held his breath. Were they going to drag her away? To his surprise, the guards let Annie go. "Is the Great Mogul going to punish the elephant?" Annie asked. "No, he is not," a guard said. He has given her to you as a gift." "What?" said Jack. "Really?" said Annie. "Given her to us as a gift? What does that mean exactly?" Jack asked. "It means you must take her home," said the guard, "back to your own country." "Take the elephant home?" said Jack. "Come with me," the guard said. "Come on, Jack," Annie called as she hurried after the guard leaving the balcony. "Take the elephant home?" Jack repeated. The ambassadors were still gaping at him. "Who are you?" one of them asked. "Where are you from?" "Jack, ambassador from Frog Creek," said Jack. "Excuse me." In a daze, he hurried after Annie and the guard. When he caught up to them, he whispered to Annie, "Have you lost your mind? We can't take an elephant home." "We can't let her stay here either," said Annie. "They'll punish her." "Okay, then you can be the one who carries her up the rope ladder," said Jack. "Ha ha," said Annie. "It's not ha ha," said Jack. "It's insane." "Look, let's just get her out of the Red Fort first," said Annie. "Then we'll figure out what to do." Jack and Annie followed the guard until they emerged at the edge of the square in front of the hall of public audience. Several guards were scuffling with the elephant. They had a rope around her neck. Her ears were flapping. She was snorting and stamping her feet. The guards pulled on the rope, forcing the elephant down on her knees. Her eyes looked desperate and furious. "Hey, don't hurt her!" Jack blurted out. A guard pointed his saber at Jack. "Climb on, now, both of you," he said. "You have caused enough trouble this day. It is a miracle you are still alive." Jack clutched his bag and scrambled awkwardly into the straw carriage on the elephant's back. Annie climbed in behind him. Crammed together, they gripped the sides of the carriage. "Her name is Morning Breeze," the guard shouted. "Take her back to your own land. Go now." As if obeying the guard, Morning Breeze rose to her full height. She moved quickly across the square and headed down the stone road that led to the gate. Jack and Annie bounced up and down. They clutched the sides of the straw carriage, trying not to fall out. Jack could hear the guards roaring with laughter behind them. "Slow down!" Jack shouted to the elephant. But Morning Breeze ran even faster, her big leathery ears flapping and her bells jangling. "She's more like a wind than a breeze," shouted Annie. "More like a tornado," Jack yelled. Morning Breeze thundered through the gate and over the wooden drawbridge. Jack and Annie held on to the sides of the carriage for dear life. After she had crossed the moat, the elephant finally slowed to a walk. Morning Breeze held her trunk high. She seemed to be sniffing the hot wind. Her ears spread out as if she were listening for a distant sound. "We're near the treehouse. It's right there in that row of trees," said Jack. "We have the Emerald Rose. If we can just make her stop, we can jump off and go home. We can get out of this heat and away from this place." I know, said Annie, but... Stop, Morning Breeze, said Jack. "Let us off." "But what about her?" said Annie. "We can't just leave her here by herself." Jack looked at Morning Breeze's trunk, waving in the air. He heard what sounded like crying coming from the wild elephant. She seemed terribly lost and sad. Suddenly, Jack desperately wanted to help the elephant get back to the wild, wherever that was. "All right," he said. "Keep going. Go fast." His voice rose to a shout. "Hurry! Go, Morning Breeze, go!" So, very cool. At first, something was going wrong and the elephant was trying to escape and then she was going to be punished. But the Great Mogul must have felt badly that Annie cared for her so much and he gave her as a gift. So now Annie and Jack are riding Morning Breeze and they're trying to take her back into the wild where she belongs. That's the end of chapters 5 and 6. I'll have chapter 7 for you next week, and it is called Something Very Weird. So, I wonder what that's going to be. I look forward to reading it to you. Thanks for joining me. Bye!